Yeah, I love it, and we'll talk about it in a minute, but it's interesting the couple of things that Reverend Tony has talked about last week and this week totally overlap with what I was going to share today. I've mentioned this before, but I'm kind of go over and give you a little history. I mentioned last year, 2015, was a rough year for me. One of my friends is an astrologist, and he says, if Saturn goes over your chart 3 times in a year, it's like a major teacher, and it's going to be kind of a tough year. I had it like 7 times last year. And I was like glad I didn't know until afterwards. I'm like, I just didn't even want to know. And whether that affected it or not, I always kind of see the astrology as just reflecting the energy back to me. And so the first part of the year, I was working hard. And then mid-year, I ended up leaving my job. And it was a job that I loved. And it was my spiritual community. And all my friends were there. And my best friend was there. And literally in one day, it was gone. Everything. And I was like, I didn't know what to do. And so I got the opportunity, I mentioned this, I went on retreat for 3 months. I literally went out to the forest with my dog and lived in the forest for 3 months. And worked a lot on healing and forgiving the people involved and trying to heal, anger at myself and trying to forgive myself for things I had done and see myself as worthy. And in the midst of all that, what I did not expect was to come here, and I knew I was getting ordained. I had no thought that it was going to come up and be like, oh, and by the way, have you thought about moving to San Francisco? And that was not my plan. Spirit apparently had a different plan for me. And so, a few months later, I decided, I think I am going to follow that guidance. I'm going to come here. And even though I was here, there was still a part of my heart. All my friends were in LA. And so I've been still trying to recover a lot of those friendships. And a couple of weeks ago, there was kind of some blow-ups and some situations where I was like, I'm not sure these friendships are going to be salvageable. And there was 2 things that kept going through my mind, two things from the lessons. The first one being lesson 153, said, in my defenselessness, my safety lies. And I kept thinking that, and I was like, I don't want to listen to that. Because I don't want to be hurt again. So I'm going to ignore that. We'll ignore that lesson. And then the second lesson kept coming up, said, which is 135, says, what could you not accept if you but knew that everything that happens, all events past, present, and to come, are gently planned by one whose only purpose is your good. And I kept hearing those 2 lessons in my mind. And I'm thinking, despite all the pain I'm going through, despite the loss of what seems like some of my best friendships, there's these 2 lessons. I keep hearing them, but I don't want to listen to them because I want to be hurt. I want to be angry. I want to be upset. And then a few weeks ago, I was like, I've got a little nagging backache. And then suddenly that little nagging backache became a big backache where major painkillers were not helping. And I ended up at a doctor, and I've got the Louise Hay book, and sometimes, Reverend Tony kind of mentioned this last week, sometimes I'll read Louise Hay, who she's like, this medical condition relates to this spiritual, and sometimes I'll look at it and I'm like, that's such BS. There's days where I'm like, forget it. But I was like, well, sometimes the body, I feel, is giving me a message. So I said, I'll look up back. And it says the back represents our support system. Problems with the back usually mean we feel we are not being supported. Too often we think we are only supported by our job or our family or our spouses. In reality, we are totally supported by the universe, by life itself. And so I'm in ER, probably shouldn't have driven myself, but drove myself to the emergency room. They're injecting me with morphine and giving me Valium, and they're like, Ann, how are you getting home? And I'm like, the same way I got here, I drove. And they were like, yeah. Not gonna happen. I messaged Reverend Tony and I find out he was like on a date night. And they turned the oven off and came and got me. And then when I've been at work, Reverend Tony's, watched Curie, and Reverend Peter came and picked me up this morning. And, different people from the community have given me hugs. And Reverend Dusalthea called me and she says, okay, one cripple to another right now because I can't see. I love you, but I'd do anything if I could. And I suddenly was like, oh my God, these lessons I've been kind of wanting to ignore were so true. that I went through it felt like such a difficult circumstance, losing what I had in LA, and then having this horrible back injury, and I still don't even know what's going on with that. And yet, to see the beauty of CMC and to see the love expressed here has meant the world to me. And that has been my miracle the last few weeks. Thank you.